I never knew my parents, but that doesn't mean I didn't miss them. I mean, my foster parents were great. Kind, cheerful, everything you could want. But all they could tell me was they found me after the storm of the century, abandoned by some Zarukhinan refugee. Even though others in the village told me there were no Zarukhinan refugees. I've been through the ruins there. The trees that are left grow sideways. The destruction was absolute. Nobody survived that storm. But then, how did I find my way to a new family's doorstep? Papa used to joke that only the wind knows. You know, I think in some ways we all grow up with exaggerated versions of our personal histories. Everything's distorted in our own minds, for better or worse. And for those of us whose histories have been taken from us, that distortion, split, often ends up more for worse, until you can figure out how to winnow your way to some higher truth. Well, that or run from it, which I was always pretty good at. But not even I could run forever. I guess growth's a good thing, though. There's always liberation in truth. Truth of purpose. Truth of where you come from, of the self. I started running from my truth so early, I don't think I even knew what I was doing. And though I didn't know it, everywhere I ran, the truth followed with me. But I was deaf to it, deaf to what Mother Wind was trying to tell me. Deaf to the archives of the ages whispered between the branches of every tree. No, it took an embarrassing amount of time before I learned to listen to the revelations of my birthright and start to grasp the promise of a new age. I never met my family, but I never imagined them to be bad people. I certainly never imagined that their deaths were both intentional and deserved. And they didn't die alone. An entire village was obliterated on the night of my birth. I never questioned it growing up. Why would I? Zarukhina didn't ever occupy my thoughts. It was just a void in my life. But now I sometimes think of little else. Because now I know that I wasn't just born on the night of a storm. No, the Gale descended upon Zarukhina that night because I was born. Because I was the last chance for Mother Wind to right a great wrong. My family, my real family, was special, but they weren't alone in their gifts. Other distant clans had also learned to forge ethereal connections with forces mortals could scarce comprehend. And not just with our precious wind, other elements had their adherents as well. It was from an elder who sits amongst the servants of the dancing flame that I heard the truth of my people. One who knew friendship with my ancestors, one who mourned their passing and celebrated my return. My grandmother was different than her sisters. She was ungifted in the ways of the Gale. In those days, even though they lived apart, the Order of the Rising Gale played an important role in Zarukhinan affairs. Together with the worshippers of the Ongvol, theirs was the counsel the village elders would seek in guiding the people. Unlike those who prayed to the Ongvol, the Rising Gale was not an open congregation. You were either born into it, or you weren't. But it was very rare for one of my family line to be born without the blessings of Mother Wind. So it was only natural that my grandmother would make a normal life for herself in Zarukhina, that she would find comfort and love there amongst the normal people. But just as love can be a source of immense good, it can also be a conduit for great evil. My paternal great-grandfather was high priest in Zarukhina. He despised the windwalkers of the Gale, resented their influence. So when his son fell in love with a member of the Gale's oldest family, he saw an opportunity. He did not rush. He sanctioned their union, welcomed my grandmother into the village with open arms. He spent time with members of the Order, learned as much as he could about their ways. Then slowly, but surely, he began to sow the seeds of fear and doubt about the true motives of those embraced by the Gale. In the minds of my grandmother and a growing number of villagers, so slowly that the changes were almost imperceptible until it was entirely too late. I don't know precisely what the last days of my people were like. The flame tender could not say, but I know now. I could feel it. The night of my birth was a night of judgment, when a guilty sentence condemned all of Zarukina for the crimes they'd allowed to transpire. I don't know what comes next. I don't need to. I've taken what I need from the ruins of my past. Now I go where the wind takes me. Thank you. A windfall upon you.